Captain Alan Reeves stood at the viewport of Neptune Station, staring at the sleek warship docked outside. The UES Phantom hung in space like a shadow, its dark hull absorbing light rather than reflecting it. Even standing still, it seemed to blur at the edges, as if it existed partly in another dimension. "Quite a sight, isn't she?" Admiral Susan Blackwell's voice came from behind him. Alan nodded without turning. 15 years in development. I've read every report, but seeing it in person. Reports don't do it justice, the Admiral said, stepping beside him. Her gray uniform contrasted with the stars beyond the glass. The Phantom is more than just a ship, Captain. It's a statement. A statement most of the galaxy thinks is a lie. Alan finally turned to face his superior officer. Susan's lips curved into a small smile. That's the beauty of it. The Meridian Compact believes the Phantom is just human propaganda. A scary story we made up to keep them away from our colonies. The Admiral handed him a datapad. On the screen, images showed alien warships gathering near Proxima Centauri, the closest human settlement outside the solar system. The Meridians are getting bold, she continued. Their fleet movements have increased by 300% in the last month. Intelligence suggests they're planning something big. Ellen scrolled through the images. They've always been careful not to cross any official boundaries. Until now. Susan tapped the screen, bringing up a new image. A human research outpost, its dome shattered, bodies floating in space. This happened yesterday. They're calling it a navigation error. Cold anger settled in Alan's stomach. And what are we calling it? The reason the Phantom is finally leaving dock. Susan took back the datapad. Your crew arrives in 6 hours. You launch in 12. Alan looked back at the ship. The Phantom has never seen actual combat, only simulations and controlled tests. The simulations show a 97% success rate against Meridian battle tactics. Simulations aren't reality. The Admiral's expression hardened. Reality is that humans need a win, Captain. The Meridians have been pushing at our borders for years, testing our resolve. It's time they learned what happens when they push too hard. 6 hours later, Alan stood in the ship's briefing room, looking at the officers who would serve under his command. 5 faces stared back at him, a mix of excitement and nervousness in their expressions. Welcome aboard the UES Phantom, he began. I'm Captain Alan Reeves. For most of you, this assignment came as a surprise. That's because until yesterday, this ship officially didn't exist. He activated the display table, showing a hologram of the Phantom. This vessel represents the cutting edge of human technology. Quantum stealth systems, gravity disruption weapons, temporal displacement shields. Most of the galaxy thinks it's impossible for a ship like this to exist. Our job is to prove them wrong. Tactical Officer Zach Harrison raised his hand. Sir, I've heard stories about the Phantom since I was at the Academy. They said it could disappear completely, even from motion sensors. Some of what you've heard is true, Alan replied. Some is exaggeration. Part of our strategy has been to spread rumors, to build the legend. The Phantom is as much psychological warfare as it is a battleship. Chief Engineer Olivia Martinez spoke next. The power requirements for the stealth systems must be enormous. They are, Alan confirmed. That's why you're here, Lieutenant. Your work on fusion containment is what makes the Phantom possible. Medical Officer Daniel Quinn and Communications Specialist Lisa Wright exchanged glances. Questions? Alan asked. Lisa Wright raised her hand. Our mission. Sir. Alan's expression grew serious. Observation, for now. The Meridian Compact has attacked a research outpost. We believe they're planning more aggressive moves. The Phantom will gather intelligence while remaining undetected. And if we're discovered? Asked Daniel. Alan looked at each of them in turn. Let's hope we're not. The Phantom has never fired its weapons outside of testing. We're heading into unknown territory. 12 hours after arriving at Neptune Station, the UES Phantom slipped away from its dock. No launch announcement was made. No signal was sent. The legendary warship simply vanished into the darkness of space, leaving not even a ripple in its wake. The ghost had become real. Commander Vexthar stood on the bridge of the Meridian flagship, the Eternal Blade. His scaled skin gleamed under the blue lights as he studied the star map before him. Red markers showed human colonies and outposts. Green markers showed Meridian fleet positions. The balance was shifting. "Report on the research outpost," he ordered. His second-in-command, Sub-Commander Krell, stepped forward. "Complete success, Commander. The humans were unprepared. We obtained all data before destroying the facility." Vexthar nodded. "And our losses?" "None. Their defenses were minimal." A satisfied smile crossed Vexthar's face, showing rows of sharp teeth. "The humans are weak. Their territories are rich with resources they don't deserve." "Commander," Krell hesitated, "there are rumors among the crew. They speak of a human vessel called the Phantom." Vexthar laughed. "The ghost ship. It's propaganda. A myth created to frighten the simple-minded. The stories say it can move unseen, strike without warning. If such a ship existed, why have we never encountered it? Why does it not defend their outposts?" Vexthar turned from the map. "The humans spread tales because they lack true strength. We will continue as planned." Across the void of space, the UES Phantom moved through the darkness, its stealth systems making it invisible to sensors and eyes alike. Inside the ship, Captain Alan Reeves sat in his command chair, reviewing the mission parameters. "Distance to target?" he asked. Zach Harrison checked his display. 3 hours at current speed, Captain." "Status of stealth systems." Olivia Martinez looked up from her engineering station. "Operating at 98% efficiency. The power draw is within acceptable limits." Helen nodded. "Communications, any signals from the Meridian fleet?" Lisa Wright adjusted her headset. "Standard communications traffic. Nothing suggesting they've detected us." The bridge fell silent as they continued their approach. This close to Meridian territory, tension hung in the air like a physical presence. "What do you think they know about us?" Daniel Quinn asked, breaking the silence. Ellen considered the question. "Intelligence suggests the Meridians believe the Phantom is a myth, a story created by human military to seem more dangerous than we are." "Seems like a smart strategy," Zach said. "Let your enemy think you're bluffing about your best weapon." "It was never meant to be just a bluff," Alan replied. "The Phantom was designed to change the balance of power. For 15 years, we've built the legend while perfecting the reality." On his private screen, Alan reviewed the classified history of the Phantom project. The deliberate leaks of information, the false specifications circulated among foreign intelligence, the careful construction of a reputation so intimidating that most dismissed it as impossible. "Captain," Lisa called from communications, "I'm picking up a transmission from a Meridian patrol vessel. They're reporting an anomaly in this sector." Every head on the bridge turned toward her. "What kind of anomaly?" Ellen asked. "They're detecting minor gravitational fluctuations. Nothing conclusive, but they're requesting permission to investigate." Ellen looked to Olivia. "The gravity drive." She frowned at her displays. "Possibly. The stealth systems hide our visual and electromagnetic signature, but the gravitational effects are harder to mask completely." "Options. We could reduce speed, minimize the effect, or change course to avoid the patrol." Ellen considered the choices. Their mission was observation only. No contact. No revelation. The legend of the Phantom was valuable precisely because it remained unconfirmed. "Adjust course. Keep maximum distance from the patrol vessel." "Yes, sir." The Phantom altered its trajectory slightly, moving deeper into the shadow of a nearby asteroid field. Minutes passed in tense silence. "The patrol vessel is moving away," Lisa finally reported. "They've been ordered to rejoin the main fleet." Relief spread through the bridge. Alan didn't share it. The Meridians had detected something. Not enough to confirm the Phantom's existence, but enough to raise questions. "Continue approach," he ordered. "We need to identify their fleet movements and intentions." As the Phantom glided silent and unseen toward the Meridian fleet, the legend remained intact. But legends survived on mystery, and Alan knew that sooner or later, the Phantom would need to do more than simply exist in whispers and rumors. Sooner or later, the ghost would need to show itself, and when it did, the galaxy would never be the same. The Phantom drifted silently at the edge of the Proxima Centauri system. For 3 days, Captain Alan Reeves and his crew had watched the Meridian fleet gathering strength. 20 warships now hung in space near the human colony on Proxima Centauri V. Another transport arriving, Zach Harrison reported from Tactical. That makes 7 in the last 12 hours. Alan studied the holographic display. They're building up for something big. "Captain," Lisa Wright called from communications. "I'm picking up a distress signal from the colony." The bridge went quiet. "Put it through," Alan ordered. A static-filled voice came through the speakers. "This is Governor Peter Holloway of New Hope Colony. We are under attack. Repeat, we are under attack. Meridian forces have landed on the surface. We need immediate assistance." Alan's jaw tightened. "Status of the Meridian fleet. Half their ships are moving toward the colony," Zach replied. "The rest remain in orbit." "Options?" Alan asked. Olivia Martinez spoke from the engineering station. "We can transmit the distress signal back to Earth, but the nearest response fleet is 4 days away." 4 days. Alan looked at the faces of his crew. They all knew what that meant. In 4 days, the colony would be lost. "Captain," Daniel Quinn said quietly, "those are 10,000 civilians down there." Alan knew his orders. Observe only. Do not reveal the Phantom's existence. The ship was too valuable to risk in a single battle, but 10,000 lives were more valuable than any ship. "Tactical, how quickly can we reach the colony?" Zach looked up in surprise. "At maximum speed, 30 minutes. And our weapons systems, fully operational, but untested in actual combat." Alan took a deep breath. "Plot a course to the colony. Maximum speed." Lisa Wright turned in her chair. "Captain, our orders specifically state." "I know our orders, Specialist." Alan's voice was firm. "But I won't sit here and watch 10,000 people die when we have the power to stop it." He stood from his command chair, addressing the entire bridge crew. "The Phantom has existed as a legend for 15 years. Today, we make that legend real." The crew exchanged glances, tension and excitement mixing in equal measure. "Engineering, prepare all systems for combat operations. Communications, monitor Meridian frequencies. Tactical, power up weapons systems." Alan returned to his chair. "Let's show the Meridians why they should have feared the ghost." 28 minutes later, the Phantom approached the colony. 3 Meridian warships hung in low orbit, supporting ground forces that had already landed. Colony buildings burned on the surface. "They haven't detected us," Zach confirmed. Alan nodded. "Target the lead warship. Prepare to decloak on my mark." Olivia's fingers flew across her console. Stealth systems ready to disengage. Weapons at full power. "All hands, battle stations." Alan's voice was calm despite the thunder of his heartbeat. 3, 2, 1, mark. In an instant, the impossible happened. Where empty space had been, a sleek black warship appeared, its hull seeming to absorb the starlight around it. On the Meridian vessels, alarms blared. The sudden appearance of an unknown ship sent crews scrambling to battle stations. "Fire," Alan ordered. The Phantom's main weapons discharged for the first time in actual combat. Beams of concentrated energy struck the lead Meridian ship, cutting through its shields like they weren't there. The enemy vessel shuddered, then broke apart as secondary explosions ripped through its hull. "Target the second ship," Alan commanded. On the Meridian command vessel, Commander Vexthar stared at his display in disbelief. "What is that ship? Where did it come from?" "Sir," his sensor officer replied, voice shaking. "The configuration matches. It's the Phantom." Vexthar's scales paled. "The human ghost ship? Impossible." "The legend is real, sir. And it just destroyed the Sun Spear." As the second Meridian ship erupted into flames, the myth that had existed only in whispers and rumors announced its presence to the galaxy. The ghost had become death itself. The Phantom limped back toward Earth, battle scars visible across its once perfect hull. Inside the ship, the mood was mixed. They had won a victory at Proxima Centauri, saving the colony and destroying 2 Meridian warships. But the third enemy ship had escaped, carrying with it visual proof of the Phantom's existence. Captain Alan Reeves sat in his office, preparing his report. The door chimed. "Enter," he said. Chief Engineer Olivia Martinez stepped inside, holding a datapad. "Damage assessment, Captain." Alan gestured to the chair across from him. "How bad is it?" "The main stealth system is operating at 60% capacity. The temporal shields took more power than expected, causing strain on the engines." She handed him the pad. "We can make repairs for the immediate issues, but we'll need a proper dock for the rest." Alan scrolled through the report. The weapons performed well. "Too well, in some ways," Olivia replied. "The power draw was higher than our simulations predicted. If the battle had lasted another 10 minutes, we might have faced engine failure." The captain set down the pad. "So the legend doesn't quite match reality." "No legend ever does, sir." The ship's communication system activated. "Captain," Lisa Wright's voice came through. "Admiral Blackwell is requesting immediate contact." Alan sighed. "Put her through to my office." Olivia stood to leave. "Good luck, sir." When the door closed, Alan activated his screen. Admiral Blackwell's face appeared, her expression hard. "Captain Reeves," she said, "I've reviewed your preliminary report. You directly violated orders by revealing the Phantom and engaging in combat." "Yes, Admiral. 10,000 colonists on New Hope would disagree with me, but I should have you court-martialed." Alan met her gaze. "I stand by my decision." The Admiral's expression softened slightly. "The footage of the Phantom decloaking and destroying that Meridian warship has already spread across every human world. People are calling you heroes. And what is High Command calling us? A liability. And an opportunity." Susan leaned forward. "You've changed the game, Captain. The Meridians now know the Phantom is real. They'll be analyzing every second of that battle, looking for weaknesses. We'll be ready for them. Will you?" The Admiral sent a file to his screen. "This is from Meridian communication channels our intelligence has accessed. They're already developing countermeasures based on your battle performance." Alan opened the file. It contained technical specifications, focusing on the Phantom's shield frequencies and power signatures. How did they get this level of detail from one encounter? That's what we need to find out. Susan's expression turned grim. There may be a leak somewhere in the project. Or worse, a spy. The captain looked up sharply. "On my ship. I'm not accusing anyone specifically. But the Meridians know too much, too quickly." She paused. "Return to Earth immediately. We need to run a full security check on the Phantom and its crew." The screen went dark. Alan sat back in his chair, thoughts racing. A spy on his ship. He couldn't believe it. Yet the Meridians had obtained detailed information somehow. On the bridge, Lisa Wright finished her communication shift. She glanced around to ensure no one was watching, then inserted a small device into her console. Data flowed into the hidden transmitter. Ship specifications, performance metrics from the battle, shield frequencies. In seconds, the transmission was complete. She removed the device and slipped it into her pocket. No one had noticed. Miles away, in the darkness of space, a Meridian scout ship received the transmission. Commander Vexthar would be pleased with this latest information from their human asset. Back on the Phantom, Captain Allen called his senior officers to the briefing room. As they gathered around the table, He studied each face carefully. One of these people, someone he trusted, might be betraying everything they stood for. The legend of the Phantom was real. But now, so was the danger. The orbital shipyard above Earth buzzed with activity. Dozens of human warships gathered, forming the largest battle group in recent history. At the center of attention was the UES Phantom, now repaired and upgraded following its battle at Proxima Centauri. Captain Alan Reeves stood in a large briefing room with 20 other ship captains. Admiral Blackwell pointed to a holographic map showing Meridian fleet movements. "Intelligence confirms the Meridians are gathering their forces at the Arcturus system," she said. "We believe they plan to use it as a staging area for a push into human space." A tall captain from the battleship UES Dauntless raised his hand. "Why would they reveal their staging area so obviously? Seems like a trap." "It could be," Susan admitted, "but we can't allow them to establish a foothold so close to our colonies." She gestured to Alan. "The Phantom will lead the advance. Its stealth capabilities will allow for initial reconnaissance before the main fleet jumps in." Some captains exchanged skeptical glances. One spoke up. "With all due respect, Admiral, the Phantom failed to remain undetected at Proxima Centauri." Ellen stepped forward. "The Phantom revealed itself by choice to save the colony. Our stealth systems are now fully operational. The Phantom will serve as our eyes," Susan continued. "The main battle group will consist of the carrier UES Resolute, the battleship UES Dauntless, and 12 support vessels. The remaining ships will defend our core systems." As the briefing continued, Alan studied the other captains. Most seemed confident, but a few showed open doubt about the plan and about the Phantom's abilities. Later, in the Phantom's engine room, Olivia Martinez worked on final adjustments to the shield systems. Captain Allen found her beneath a console, tools scattered around her. "How are the repairs coming?" he asked. Olivia slid out, wiping grease from her hands. "Better than expected. The shipyard engineers were impressed with our systems. Maybe too impressed." "What do you mean?" "They ask a lot of questions. Detailed questions." She lowered her voice. "I only answered what was necessary for repairs, but it felt like they were cataloging every aspect of the ship." Alan frowned. Admiral Blackwell mentioned a possible security leak. "We need to be careful about who has access to our systems." Speaking of which, Olivia looked around to ensure they were alone. "I found something strange in the communications array. A small device, non-standard issue, hidden inside the main console." Alan's eyes narrowed. "A transmission device. Possible. I removed it, but I wanted you to see it before I reported it officially." She handed him a small metal object no larger than a thumbnail. Alan examined it carefully. "Have you mentioned this to anyone else?" "No, sir. Keep it that way for now. We need to be careful about how we handle this." In her quarters, Lisa Wright paced nervously. Her hidden transmitter was missing. Someone had found it. She needed to warn Commander Vexthar that her cover might be compromised. But how? The fleet was leaving in 12 hours. She sat at her desk, mind racing. Then an idea came to her. During the battle at Proxima, she had discovered a way to encode messages in standard communications traffic. If she could access the main communication array before the fleet departed. On the bridge, Tactical Officer Zach Harrison reviewed the mission parameters one final time. Something didn't feel right about the Meridian fleet positioning. It was too obvious, too inviting. If he were setting a trap, this is exactly how he would do it. Captain Allen entered the bridge, his expression serious. "Status report." "All systems ready, Captain," Zach replied. "But I have concerns about the mission. The Meridian positioning at Arcturus doesn't make tactical sense unless it's a trap." Allen finished. "I know. Admiral Blackwell knows too. But sometimes you have to spring the trap to catch the one who set it." Throughout the shipyard, final preparations were made. Weapons were loaded. Engines were tested. Crews said goodbye to loved ones. In 12 hours, the largest human fleet in a generation would jump to Arcturus, with the legendary Phantom leading the way. But legends weren't bulletproof, and neither were ships. And somewhere among them, a traitor was sending one final message. The UEA's Phantom emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Arcturus system. Its stealth systems engaged immediately, rendering it invisible to sensors. Captain Alan Reeves studied the tactical display with growing concern. "Scan the system," he ordered. Zach Harrison worked his console. Initial scans show 5 Meridian warships near the 4th planet. Small force, exactly as intelligence reported. "Too small," Alan muttered. "Continue scanning. Focus on the gas giant and its moons." Minutes passed in tense silence as the Phantom drifted closer to the center of the system. Lisa Wright monitored communications from her station, her hands trembling slightly. "Captain," Zach called suddenly. "I'm detecting unusual energy readings from the far side of the gas giant." Alan leaned forward. "Magnify." The display zoomed in, revealing the source of the readings. Alan's blood went cold. Hidden in the shadow of the gas giant was the main Meridian fleet. Not 5 ships, but 50. "It's an ambush," he said quietly. "Communications, send emergency signal to the fleet." Code red. "Tell them not to jump in." Lisa hesitated for a fraction of a second before sending the message. But it was too late. Space rippled as the human battle group emerged from faster-than-light travel directly into the Meridian trap. On the bridge of the Meridian flagship, Commander Vexthar smiled as his sensors detected the human fleet's arrival. "Right on schedule," he said. "They took the bait perfectly." His second-in-command looked nervous. "The Phantom's stealth systems will not save them today." Vexthar tapped a command into his console. "Our source provided the exact frequencies their shields operate on. Order all ships to calibrate weapons accordingly." Back on the Phantom, alarms blared as sensors detected the Meridian fleet moving to attack. "They're emerging from behind the gas giant," Zach reported. 53 ships, heavily armed. "The fleet is in danger," Alan said. "We need to draw their fire. Disengage stealth systems. All power to weapons and engines." "Captain," Olivia called from engineering. "Our stealth is our best defense." "Not anymore." They knew we were coming. "Tactical, target the nearest Meridian cruiser." The Phantom decloaked, revealing itself between the human fleet and the advancing Meridians. Its weapons fired, striking the lead enemy ship and causing significant damage. For a moment, Alan thought they might have gained the upper hand despite the ambush. Then multiple Meridian vessels fired in unison, their weapons precisely tuned to the Phantom's shield frequency. The ship shuddered violently as the first volley hit. Warning lights flashed across every console. "Shields down to 40%, Olivia reported, her voice tight with alarm. "They know exactly where to hit us." A second volley struck before they could adjust. The bridge lights flickered and went out, replaced by dim emergency lighting. "Shields at 12%, Olivia called. "Main power failing." Around them, the human fleet struggled to form a defensive position. 2 smaller vessels were already breaking apart under concentrated Meridian fire. "Captain," Zach shouted over the noise of systems failing. "The UES Dauntless is taking heavy damage. The Resolute is trying to cover their retreat." Alan gripped his chair as another impact rocked the ship. "What about our weapons?" "Primary weapons offline. Secondary systems at 30%. The tactical display showed the battle deteriorating rapidly. The human fleet, caught unprepared, was being torn apart. "Order the fleet to withdraw," Alan commanded. "Emergency jump protocols." Lisa relayed the order. One by one, the remaining human ships began to disappear, jumping to safety. "Our jump drive?" Alan asked. Olivia shook her head. "Damaged. It needs 3 minutes to restart." "We don't have 3 minutes." Another hit sent sparks flying from a nearby console. Daniel Quinn rushed to help an injured crew member. "Captain," Zach said grimly, 3 Meridian cruisers are moving to surround us." On his screen, Alan watched the enemy ships closing in for the kill. The legendary Phantom, The ghost ship that had struck terror into the Meridians was now crippled and vulnerable. "Full power to engines," Alan ordered. "We'll make a run for the asteroid field." As the damaged ship limped away from the battle, the legend of the invincible Phantom began to crumble. Reality had proven far harsher than the myth. The hidden outpost at Deimos, Mars's smaller moon, was never meant to host a battle fleet. Yet now, 6 damaged human warships huddled in its shadow, undergoing emergency repairs. The UES Phantom, once the pride of the fleet, bore the worst damage of all. In the outpost's main briefing room, Captain Alan Reeves faced angry questions from the other ship captains. 17 ships lost," said Captain Frank Nelson of the UES Dauntless, his voice tight with rage. "Over 2,000 crew members dead or missing, all because we trusted in a legendary ship that failed at its first real test." Alan didn't argue. The facts were clear. The Meridians had been waiting for them, with weapons calibrated specifically to counter the Phantom systems. "Someone leaked our battle plans," he said instead. "Someone told the Meridians exactly what to expect and how to counter our technology." Captain Catherine Lee of the UES Resolute stepped forward. "That doesn't change the fact that your ship was supposed to be our edge, the invisible protector. Instead, it became a target." Before Alan could respond, the door opened. Admiral Blackwell entered, her face grim. "Captain Reeves is right," she said. "We have a traitor in our ranks." She activated the room's display screen, showing security footage from the Phantom. It revealed communications specialist Lisa Wright placing a small device inside her console. This footage was recovered from the Phantom's security system. Susan continued. "Specialist Wright has been sending classified information to the Meridians for months." Alan's hands clenched into fists. One of his own crew. Someone he had trusted with humanity's most advanced ship. "Where is she now?" he asked. "In custody." Under questioning, she revealed something worse. The Admiral's expression darkened further. "The Meridians know about Earth's orbital defense weaknesses. They're planning a direct attack on our homeworld." Stunned silence filled the room. "When?" Captain Lee finally asked. "Intelligence suggests 48 hours. Their main fleet is already moving from Arcturus." Alan studied the tactical display showing the approaching Meridian armée. "We can't stop a fleet that size with our remaining ships." "No, we can't," Susan agreed, "but we might not have to stop all of them." She turned to Alan. "The Phantom was built with one specific feature we've never revealed, not even in the rumors we spread. A last resort weapon called the Nova Drive." Alan looked surprised. "I wasn't briefed on any Nova Drive." Only 3 people knew of its existence. The Nova Drive can create a localized disruption in spacetime, effectively creating a miniature supernova. It would destroy the Phantom, but also any ships within a substantial radius. The room fell silent again as the implications sank in. "You're talking about a suicide mission," Alan said quietly. Susan nodded. "The Phantom is damaged, but the Nova Drive is intact. One ship sacrificed to save Earth." Captain Nelson scoffed. "The ship that was supposed to be invincible, reduced to a bomb." "Sometimes legends have to be rewritten," Susan said firmly. "Sometimes the greatest victory comes from the greatest sacrifice." Chief Engineer Olivia Martins worked frantically in the Phantom's engine room. Most systems were still offline, but she had managed to restore basic power and life support. Daniel Quinn helped her, passing tools and checking readings. "Do you think it can be fixed in time?" he asked. Olivia wiped sweat from her forehead. "Some of it. The stealth systems are beyond repair without a proper shipyard. But I might be able to get weapons and shields partially working." "Would it be enough for combat?" She shook her head. "Not against a full fleet. We'd need a miracle for that." In the brig, Lisa Wright sat alone in her cell. She had failed her Meridian handlers, and now humanity would pay the price. Yet something troubled her. If Commander Vexthar succeeded in destroying Earth, what would happen to humanity's colonies? What would happen to her family on the Mars settlement? For the first time, doubt crept into her mind. Had she betrayed her species for nothing? On the bridge, Zach Harrison studied the battle data from Arcturus, looking for any weakness in the Meridian tactics. There had to be something they missed, some flaw they could exploit. The Phantom might be damaged, its legend tarnished, but it wasn't defeated yet. And legends, like ships, could sometimes be rebuilt. The UES Phantom approached Earth alone, its damaged hull barely holding together. On the bridge, Captain Alan Reeves looked at his remaining crew. They had volunteered for this final mission, despite knowing they might not return. "Status report," Alan said. "Stealth systems operating at 30%. Olivia reported from engineering. It's not much, but it might be enough to get us close." Zach checked his tactical display. Meridian fleet detected. 57 ships approaching Earth's orbit. And the Nova Drive. "Ready, Captain," Olivia replied quietly. "Once activated, we'll have 3 minutes to evacuate before detonation." Alan nodded. The plan was simple but desperate. The Phantom would approach the Meridian fleet using its limited stealth, activate the Nova Drive, and the crew would escape in the emergency shuttle while the ship created a miniature supernova that would destroy the enemy armada. "Begin approach," Alan ordered. The damaged warship moved silently toward the massive Meridian fleet. On the enemy flagship, Commander Vexthar stood confident on his bridge. "Earth's defenses are minimal," he told his officers. "Their fleet is scattered and broken. Today we claim the human homeworld." His sensor officer spoke up suddenly. "Commander, I'm detecting an anomaly at coordinates 227 to 84. Vexthar frowned. "What kind of anomaly?" "Uncertain. It appears and disappears from sensors." A cold feeling settled in Vexthar's stomach. The Phantom. It survived. Impossible to confirm, but the signature matches what we've seen before. "All ships, scan that sector." Vexthar ordered. "Find that ghost." On the Phantom, alarms sounded. "They've detected us," Zach warned. Multiple ships changing course to intercept. Alan remained calm. "Continue approach. We only need to get close enough for the Nova Drive to affect their main fleet." The ship shuddered as the first Meridian weapons fire struck its weakened shields. "Shields at 15%, Olivia called. "Another direct hit, and they're gone." "Distance to optimal Nova position?" Alan asked. 2 minutes at current speed, Zach replied. Daniel looked up from his medical station. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the Meridian flagship." "Put it through." Commander Vexthar's scaled face appeared on screen. "Captain Reeves, your damaged ghost ship doesn't frighten us anymore. Surrender now, and your crew may live as prisoners." Alan smiled slightly. "You still don't understand what the Phantom really is, Commander." "A failed legend," Vexthar sneered. "No, a symbol of what humans will sacrifice to protect their own." Alan cut the transmission. "Activate Nova Drive." Olivia's fingers moved across her console. Nova Drive active. 3 minutes to detonation. "All crew to the escape shuttle." "That's an order." The bridge crew hesitated. "What about you, Captain?" Daniel asked. "I'll make sure the Phantom stays on course." "Now go." As his crew reluctantly headed for the escape shuttle, Alan transferred control to the captain's chair. The ship took another hit, shields failing completely. In the shuttle bay, Olivia looked back at the door. "We can't leave him." Zach nodded. "I'll get him. Start the launch sequence." He ran back through the damaged corridors, reaching the bridge just as another impact rocked the ship. "Captain, shuttle's ready. We need to go." Ellen shook his head. "Someone needs to keep the ship on target. The navigation system is too damaged for autopilot." "Then I'll stay too," Zach said. "That wasn't a request, Lieutenant." Ellen's voice softened. "The legend of the Phantom will live on, but Earth needs people like you to defend it after today." At that moment, the ship's systems flickered as something new appeared on the display. "Sir, look," Zach pointed at the screen. the rest of our fleet. The remaining human ships had arrived, led by the Resolute and Dauntless, directly engaging the Meridian rear guard. They're creating a diversion, Alan realized. Get to the shuttle. Now. That's a final order. This time, Zack obeyed. Alone on the bridge, Alan guided the dying ship toward the heart of the Meridian fleet. Behind him, the escape shuttle launched, protected by the arriving human reinforcements. Nova detonation in 30 seconds, the computer announced. On his screen, Alan could see Commander Vexthar's flagship directly ahead. The Meridian commander's face showed the first traces of fear as he realized what was happening. This is Captain Alan Reeves of the UES Phantom. Alan broadcast on all frequencies. The ghost ship is real, and so is its final gift. As the counter reached 0, a new star briefly appeared in Earth's sky. When it faded, the Meridian fleet was gone. The legend of the Phantom was complete, not as an invincible warship, but as the symbol of humanity's ultimate sacrifice and ultimate victory. Some legends are born, others are made. The greatest are those written in the stars themselves.